Hey, how's it going? It's Sam here at... Wait a second. Hold on. What's that behind your ear? No, hang on. I got it. Just hold still for a second, alright? Gently. What's this? How's it going, y'all? Thanks for tuning in to the Samuel Plays Brass channel. I'm your host, Sam, as per usual, and let's answer the question. What is this thing? This is called the Deflector, and it's made by a company called KGU Music, based in Ukraine. They've sent me a few of their products before, and this is among the couple of newer ones they've sent me, so I figured I'd give it a little review and share my thoughts. This video is not sponsored, they just sent me a couple free products, but if you find that you would like one of these or you'd like to do more research on it, KGUmusic.com is the ticket. You can find it in the description and in the pinned comment. Without further ado, let's get started with the Deflector. There are some gigs that you as a trumpet player might take on where, due to some, shall we say, unfortunate acoustical circumstances, despite playing an instrument that is known to be very loud, bright, and present in nature, you might struggle to hear yourself behind the bell, with whatever open-air chaos and music making happens to be going on around you. And let me tell you, to not be able to hear yourself while you play is incredibly disorienting. It's essentially playing pin the tail on the donkey while blindfolded, and it feels almost impossible to be on the money with your pitch and your articulations and your notes if you can't properly hear yourself. Let me tell you, been there, felt that, and it's miserable. This misery is what KGU set out to resolve in designing the Deflector. So what we've ended up with is a product that clips onto the bell of your trumpet and, as the name would suggest, deflects some of your own tone back at you so that you can hear yourself better without losing too much sound out on the front end of the bell where the audience is going to be listening. It's a very stealthy and practical device. It comes in this nice bag, and it's basically an acrylic disc with a couple of polyester pegs that unfold and clip onto the bell of your trumpet via some brass screws. What you need to do is figure out the bell measurement of your trumpet or cornet, and then find the correct slots for the pegs on the acrylic disc, and then all you do is screw those pegs into the proper slots and clip it onto your bell, and boom, you're able to hear a lot more of your own sound. What you might notice about the Deflector is that each slot has a number inscribed next to it, and if you look a little closer, you'll see the same set of numbers inscribed thrice around the rim. And that is because there are 3 pegs that each need to go into the same numbered slot. These numbers are millimeter measurements corresponding to trumpet bell flare measurements. So first off, here's a list of the millimeter and approximate inch sizes that you can expect to find on your Deflector, and you take whatever is closest to your trumpet bell flare and stick the pegs into that number. For instance, my Yamaha 8310Z, the Bobby Shew model, has a 5-inch bell flare which is closest to 129 millimeters, so that is the number that I stick all 3 pegs into in order to attach it to my bell. However, when my buddy Jay wants to use my Deflector, and he uses a different type of Yamaha, some sort of Xeno, he might have to use the 123 millimeter, since that is closer to 4 7/8 in diameter. That's pretty much the standard for most Bach and Yamaha trumpets. But fear not, if your bell's a little smaller, or even quite a bit larger, this KGU Deflector will accommodate its size. Another neat little feature about KGU's Deflector design is the fact that each leg has 3 different grooves, meaning that it can attach to your bell in 3 different places, or rather 3 different distances from your bell. And this can help you regulate how much of your sound actually gets deflected back at you while using the Deflector. For the purposes of my testing, I only put it as close to the bell as possible to deflect the maximum possible amount of sound and test sort of the extreme case. But if you like to mess with the exact amount of decibels you're getting thrown back at you, this is pretty nifty. Now to go on a little bit of a tangent, earlier this summer, after 5.5 years of having done little to nothing of this type of stuff, I joined a local jazz big band. It's been a great opportunity to get my big band chops back in shape, and also my lead chops, because those have definitely gone downhill since high school. The trouble is, playing lead trumpet in the big band, it's tough to hear yourself sometimes. We play out of a pretty serious set of charts, and the lead parts can get pretty insane sometimes. There's some high dexterity stuff up in the stratosphere that is really hard to hear in context. So this felt like the perfect opportunity. In addition to my trusty Yamaha 8310Z and this Giardinelli 1S that I've reviewed on the channel, I took with me to practice my new Deflector and put it to use. Obviously, if you're doing a chart that has a lot of mute work, the deflector's gonna have to come off. My Liberty straight mute fit perfectly in this recess here, and if you play a narrower model of straight mute like a Humes and Berg, then you actually have wiggle room to play with. But if you're doing anything involving a Harmon mute, a cup mute, a bucket mute, or a plunger, it's probably gonna have to come off. Although then again, if you can hear yourself while you're playing with a mute, I don't suppose the deflector is particularly necessary. One area where the deflector really shone, and unexpectedly so, is actually the middle and low register of the instrument. For instance, if you're playing unison with the whole trumpet section in the bottom few lines of the staff, or if you're doing some really tight esoteric harmonies in that register, it can actually be pretty hard to hear those notes, and this thing provided a really just beefy and encouraging impression of what my middle G's and E's sounded like, compared to when I wasn't playing with the deflector, when I could actually barely hear myself there unless I overblew the instrument and got a really ugly tone out of it. In the upper register, obviously, the deflector did what I expected it to. It made the lead lines easier to hear, which is vital as a lead player. It definitely helps you stay on the money and not splat on the pitches and not overblow and completely ruin your chops. I will say though, if you're playing with a lead mouthpiece, especially one like this, that's got a huge diameter, so it's got a huge breadth of sound, but a really shallow cup, so it's really bright, all of that definitely gets reflected back at you. So, you might elect to have it a little further from the bell. I chose maybe not the best day to test it because we had 4 players in the trumpet section as opposed to the 6 or 7 that we sometimes have, and that doubling can make it really hard to hear yourself. But nonetheless, I really enjoyed using the deflector. My buddy Jay on second trumpet wanted to try it out. I let him and he really enjoyed it as well. So I think it does its job pretty darn well. If you find yourself wanting one of these bad boys, once again, KGUmusic.com is the ticket. They've got stealthy ones in clear acrylic. They've got really nice looking black matte ones. They've got deflectors with countries' flags printed on them. You can even get your own custom printed design, which I think is pretty nifty. Regardless of which route you go though, the deflector is a very handy tool and it can really be a lifesaver on gigs where it's hard to hear yourself. Once again, if you can't hear yourself, it's almost impossible to play right. So if you find yourself in that setting often, first of all, make sure to get your ears checked routinely. But second of all, consider checking out the KGU Music Deflector. Hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, we'll see you on the flip side. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to support the creation of bigger and better content on the Samuel Plays Brass channel, have your name featured right here, and a whole host of other perks and benefits, then please consider pledging your support at patreon.com/SamuelPlaysBrass. For now, you can find more videos in the end screen cards to my left.